And what is up, guys? And welcome to what is essentially the first official episode, which is weird because I think we've done like 6 of these now. Welcome to
Yeah.
lectures. Welcome to your lecture. I finally get to
Yeah,
like
welcome to the namesake of this
it
channel.
pays off. The name I came up with like in bed at like midnight or something weeks, nearly 2 or 3 months ago. It pays off. This is our LEC weekly talk show. There'll be analysis. There'll be memes if I'm hip enough to say memes. We'll be flaming each other. We're gonna be flaming NA, of course. We're gonna be flaming other teams.
Unfortunately.
We got the banter. We bring the bants, and I mean, hopefully we bring some entertaining topics. But of course we have to see some entertaining games first. And I think that's a great place to start because rather than starting with doing a rundown of all the of necessarily the teams that are like ahead, G2 are ahead, G2 win every game. It's only been 1 week. We can't really like decipher what the best team is. So let's talk about what was the most entertaining. So what for your money? What game maybe not was the best? What was the most,
Okay.
what was the most entertaining game for you?
For my money, day 2, Schalke versus SK was probably the most entertaining game.
I agree. That was a good game.
It was a really good game. I thought it was going to be one side. I was like,
Mhm.
Schalke's going to close this out. SK's got too many rookies, but whew.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really surprised Schalke actually lost.
I
Even
mean,
from the start, their team fighting is like, and I'm writing down notes. I'm like, damn, their team fighting is so clean. Upsets and nuts. And if you cut like the game halfway, it doesn't even look like the same team. Like they
mhm.
somehow like tilted themselves in their own. I don't know. SK just turned it on after like they thought that they actually might lose the game. They really turned
Yeah,
it
and the
around.
weirdest part is like you look at the team counts. Like usually, like they say, "Oh, lost to draft, outscaled." It was Aurelia, Trundle, Rise, Vayne, and
Yeah.
Thresh versus like I don't remember the support, but I remember there was an Ezreal, a Silas, a Sejuani, which was a Trundle was picked into, and a Renekton. Like in no universe, like I don't care who your support is,
It was
in no
Brom
universe should
support.
that be getting
I
outscaled.
remember. It was crazy. I there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to say about Trick coming into this team for
Right.
Schalke, and I know that like on the cast they were like, "Oh, Trick's done so much for their calls and so on and so forth," and I think that was kind of evident in his play style. But his play style was what I would, for lack of a better term, I noticed like he was a lamb jungler, as in he always makes the sacrifice play because in order to like grab the objective or the kill or sustain his
Mm-hmm.
laners off the basis that maybe he's making the call, so he's like, I have to commit 100%, otherwise my team won't, which happened a lot around Dragon. This guy fell behind, which I didn't expect him to with his Trundle matchup. He shouldn't be. Trundle shouldn't be falling behind most tank junglers. That's why you pick it, right? And
Yeah, especially Sejuani.
and he kind of like inted, but it seemed like a tactical int to get his team to commit because they
Like,
never committed to Dragon almost ever.
right.
But and to be fair, SK also were trolling at Dragon at the first Mountain Dragon fight in the game. Like Sejuani jumps over the pit. The team is like, let's go, let's do the Dragon. Sejuani gets on the upset. I think the cleanse comes out, and Sejuani just dies. And then
Mm-hmm.
the team SK are just like, oh well, let's just hit Dragon repeatedly. You're like, dude, what about you, Sejuani? That's like trying to kill the AD carry. Vayne's locked down right now. They're like, nah, dude, Dragon's at 1k, we can get it. And then their jungler dies and they run away. It's pretty.
I mean, like, so, like, based on, like, going off what you just said about the whole lead by example, or, like, he has to go by
He's the shepherd.
his call, right? He's literally leading by example. Like, his team just starts inting along with him. They're like, Trick's been
Yeah,
doing
that's
pretty
a
well
good
this game. I guess we
idea.
got to do what he's doing. Uh, I mean, like, it's just insane to me. Like, I see this Vayne pick, and I'm like, okay, this has got to be free, right? You've got
The probably the best.
just so many easy pieces to execute with. Like, they had the peel for Vayne, and I just don't know how they threw that so hard.
Uh,
It wasn't like they didn't steal Baron or anything. It was just like
no.
off solid team fighting. And I was like, where was this? Where was this SK at the first parts of the game?
Yeah, it was. I don't know. Like the first few team fights, Upset looked like Upset, like a beast. He's an amazing team fighting AD.
Hello? Ryan, you are muted.
This-
Yeah, no, there you are. Nope, never mind. You are gone again. I heard the word trial. Mm, well, it wouldn't be an LEC talk show if we didn't have
Yeah,
LEC
I know,
production.
right? Jesus Christ, this
Oh,
mic.
you're back. Good
Oh
timing.
my god. Oh, sorry. Brief classic LEC pause. You know, you know how it is. As I was saying, upset. First start of the game, like he's playing unbelievably well on Vayne. He's playing these team fights like a beast. I'm like, what the hell? Look at him, he's so nuts. Holy crap.
Yeah,
He's the
exactly.
best team fighting AD carry in the league. And then he just gets picked by like Sejuani Ezreal like 4 times in a row. They're even like the first death, he's like, oh, that's Upset's first death on Vayne in the LEC. And then followed by his second and his third.
Yeah, the casters dropped that narrative real quick.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, it's no longer hype. It's just sad.
It's pretty yikes.
I mean, okay, like part of it you do have to give credit to Selfmade. Like the man,
Oh.
like even in his first split, like when he played Sejuani, he's the guy who did that diagonal Sejuani ult that was like so clean. Like the man like makes non-mechanical looking junglers look mechanical. So like definitely not trying to take credit from him, but like I don't know what happened in Upset's brain to let him get hit that many times. Like at that level, when all the resources are like being dedicated to you and I guess Rise, but mostly you and the team comp, it just doesn't. It should not. That should never happen.
I can only surmise that like. So again, it's the whole reason that maybe Trick is playing the way that he played. They were Schalke was so scared to do any objective because they wanted SK to start the objective and then get the fight onto them or get the jump onto them. Even at like a Baron fight where they're looking right at them and they're like, no, please do the Baron, pretty please. We want to fight you, but can you start the Baron first? And they just wait and they wait and they wait and then Selfmade's like, oh, okay, Sejuani ult every time.
Yeah. To me, it's like I think this is the perfect example of an overly coached team, or like it's a team that only follows what they learn in their practices and not like playing by their instincts at times. Because like it was like they don't take anything past like a 55-45. Like if they don't like okay, if they're not on Baron, we're it's not really favorable for us, so we can't take this. And I'm like, dude, you guys are like up like 10 kills to 3 or
like
something like that
right now. It's so
and it's just so odd to watch. It was like they played it so well in the beginning. I was like, this looks like the Schalke I expected to see. And then as the game progressed, I was like, wait, what the fuck? I feels like SK doesn't know that they're at a deficit or something because
they just Crown Shot played really well and Selfmade played really well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Those guys like clawed this game back for SK. So
no, I mean no doubt, but like there definitely was like someone had to throw the ball for them to catch it. Oh, I just like with the amount of experience, like Trick is like a very old player nowadays in league terms, right? He's there since like OG or not OG, like original G2. I didn't mean OG like Origin, but like
the original team,
original G2. Like there's like so much experience and like I'm just watching these guys play as if they like were the rookie team and SK was the veterans. I was like, I mean, it's still a good game to watch and super entertaining. I don't know. I felt a little bit hurt that they lost it with. This is like one of those solo queue games where Vayne wins the early game and then starts losing everywhere past
the Vayne player gets the good ganks and he's like, "Oh, I'm nuts! I'm the best. Watch me pop off. I'm double lift, guys."
Yeah, everyone says I'm a mechanical god, and then he just proceeds to get caught over and over and over.
Yikes! I at least thought that both teams like looked good coming out of it at the same time, despite like showing weakness. They both showed solid strengths at the same time. So
yeah, Schalke, like if you look at Schalke's like 20-minute-ish game plan, super solid. Like this is like the kind of game plan that like if I were a middle of the pack, even a high tier team, I would be probably sweating a bit just playing against them because they have the fundamentals down. So one would assume as long as they don't, stick around for 10 minutes, let the other team do what they want. They're gonna be a threat.
Yeah, and SK actually didn't. Most teams get choked out. Like in a competitive scene, you see this like so often. They're so scared on stage to do anything. They're like, guys, they're hitting our Nexus towers. Maybe we should go in. We've had it up all game, and then they finally do it. Except SK were like, hey, they're actually on our like T2. They're on T2. Maybe we should. And one good Sejuani Bramble sets the rest of the game up, and they're like, oh, it's like we were never behind. Let's not lose. Let's win the game, guys. Which is actually somehow surprising to see in a competitive environment.
Yeah, and you would think like with these solo queue talents who are like born in like the depths of like solo queue fighting hell, like
playing in it.
I don't know. I think it might just show a lot about like the style of the coaches or something, or like how they're taught as a team to play it in their identity. Because like SK has been playing like this since like time immemorial.
Yeah.
And like I think it's very I usually enjoy watching an SK game, even if they're not the best team. So
I mean, I actually
LEC a lot more exciting.
I thought the last split SK were like, I mean, granted, until didn't they have like a miracle playoff run. Yeah, I thought they were like, I wasn't interested in watching their games, but this first game of the goddamn, was it their first game? Might have been day 2.
Second
Second,
game.
yeah, the first game was against Fnatic, but
and they lost that one
first
sadly.
week, they're coming out, and I was like, oh damn! Like once again, we look at the lineup in LEC, and I'm like, okay, number 1 G2, number 10
Right.
XL. Where do any of these teams go?
Exactly.
They all look strong. Talking about, we should actually speak about SK's other matchup. Might as well. That's a good segue.
Right. It's day 1 Fnatic SK.
Yeah, which I thought Fnatic, or rather, I thought Nemesis looked like he's actually coming into his own, and I was using this term for NA teams when we talked about NALCS, which is like this person or this team clearly watched MSI, because a lot of teams just didn't learn. We keep seeing teams draft Azir, and I don't care what these pros want to say. Oh, Azir is really good, guys. What? Silas Akali Aurelia is up.
It has won a game somewhere. I remember watching. I think it was in NA.
Camille Mid was picked in it. Goddamn Azir right now. Like, stop drafting Azir. Stop it. Yeah, Nemesis picks Aurelia, and he's like, watch me just win this game. Watch me just own the lane, because this champion's broken, by the way. Which was, really good to see, and it really brought Fnatic back up to, considering how bad they looked in the start of spring, and obviously they ramped up and looked a lot better by the end, but like, it's concerning that they could have very easily faltered, but they haven't. They've actually stayed relatively on form. Nemesis looks really good on the likes of Aurelia, which is
super nice to have on the team comp.
When he first started, he was playing like Lissandra. Granted, that was meta, but also like, you don't go, oh, Lissandra players, Aurelia players. So he's really stepped up, and he's actually making the team look a lot better. Like, I remember this guy coming on, and everyone being like, oh, they just lost Caps. They'll never make up for that. But dude actually looks pretty damn good.
But everyone forgets, like, Caps wasn't really that hot when he started. Like, he was okay, but he definitely had a lot of kinks to work out. So there's no reason we shouldn't give Nemesis the time to. And looks like it's paying off somewhat. I mean, game 2 we can also talk about, but like,
I thought I guess if there's any consideration as to like why he looked so good, outside of, I think he got a solo kill at one point. He definitely did.
I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah,
it is Aurelia.
Yeah, I goddamn hope so. Fnatic were playing like this really heavy mid-centric game from like 13 to 15 minutes, where they just kept clearing their side waves and then bringing people mid. Hylissang went mid like 4 times. At one point, Hylissang's in this bush and Brox is in the opposite bush, and there's no vision, and he's just like, I'll just very carefully not go forward because somebody might be there. There's like 3 people trying to gank him, which obviously you're trying to enable your Aurelia, but with that kind of pressure, I guess you're always going to look good. And
yeah, for sure.
I don't know, SK kind of just like let themselves lose the game after a certain point, which was probably draft. I think maybe the only other thing that's interesting about the game was that SK now are playing with their academy player, who is like praised very well as much as leader and the likes, if not considered. I think he got way more hype because on the cast, Endo was like, "Oh, this is probably the best player in E Masters." Uh,
Hmm.
but he didn't do anything.
Not that much. Well, he was okay.
I
If you really think
yeah.
about it, in a game with 4 kills and you have half of them,
He
like that's pretty
he
good.
did yeah he did okay, but for the okay, so they literally one of the stats that they threw out was that this guy was averaging 25 plus like in his CS deficit, so he would just
Yeah.
be average 25 plus CS over at 15, like, which is really high. And
Hmm.
like on average, not like a game. That's ridiculous for that's when you're like, damn, this dude just winning his lane every time, and he was playing carries, and not that he didn't this game, but I don't know. We didn't see much from him so far. I think that he seemed like a serviceable top, so maybe they were hoping that he was going to be a lot more than that. But
Yeah, I would also like just want to finally say that like I also don't like to watch on hit Nico very much. Like even when I watch the Shy play on hit Nico, I just feel like she's very limited in what she does. Like she does one thing well, split push, right? But if you can't play around it or you can't execute it, then like she doesn't do much in team fights, obviously, and it's just so boring to watch. So I kind of hope that she falls out of the meta soon, so that we can see these mechanical top laners play things like I believe I'm saying this, but like Riven and stuff like that, because like it's pretty hyped to see the game like champions like that carry. No one wants to just see a Nico smack someone 1,000 times.
yeah, it's pretty boring. I mean,
Yeah, but I will say that like I do think he's still an upgrade over Warlib so far,
yeah,
which isn't saying
he
much,
didn't. I
but
mean, he didn't do much against Whippo is the problem, and I would probably say Whippo might be the worst, not harsh, but maybe the worst performing top laner in the league. Performing worse than Prophet, maybe not.
we'll see. Maybe. I mean, he didn't do much in that game. Bwipo was like 0-2-4 when not the Nico Saker.
So I don't actually remember.
I've heard like different pronunciations on the
Let
cast, so
me.
I'm very confused
I
what
have
his
it.
official name
I
is.
just had it written down. I was gonna read it. I would probably read it Saka.
Right. But anyways, as the new SK top laner, like I feel like at the very least, like he was okay. It's really hard to play a split pushing top laner when you can't push past your middle of the river. I will have to give him a little bit more time. Whipple, on the other hand, yeah, he better hope that more of his champions become meta. He got Aatrox, didn't he? And it didn't seem like he did much.
No, they definitely banned Aatrox. They first banned Aatrox. SK
Oh
first
wait,
banned Aatrox.
yeah, I'm thinking of a different game. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Let's talk about XL because we actually
Okay.
because we'd had discussions about XL before, and we were like, how do we think they're gonna look? And I think it's gonna be quick,
Uh
so we can get this one out of the way.
huh.
I feel bad for
Okay.
Expect. I feel really bad
Yeah,
for Expect.
this man is like he must be being paid like a hell of a lot to deal with this kind of
Jesus,
torture.
you'd
Like
hope so.
you'd hope so, because I'm like watching the man. I'm like, he was never like a super amazing player on G2, but he was definitely like one of the
He was
solid
good.
stones that led to the G2 Empire. He was good, but I'm like watching this man. I'm like, I did not know he could play carries like this, and like playing carries from that far behind is so difficult. Like the man's like trying his damnedest to keep his team from losing, and they're like trying their hardest to make sure he loses.
He's kind of
He's not the he's not he's like a lot better than he looked last play. I don't think he looked terrible, but
he's got one of those. I'm trying to think like which player specifically holds him down. I want to say
on Excel,
Kadrel potentially,
I
because I think Kadrel
you would
might be the weakest jungler in the LEC.
yeah, but it's weird because like at the same time, at the pro level, top laner success is super dependent on the jungler. So
Yeah,
like we like although I think a lot of the plays were himself, like definitely like there's the pressure of like your jungler being nearby, your jungler like
jungle
giving
proximity.
pressure ganks, giving so like I if anything I would say that like at least in the games so far, I know Hiernan played an Ezreal game and he played a Jinx game. I don't think him and Kasing as a unit played that well together either. I don't think Kieran was particularly bad in the laning phase, but I just felt like at least the Jinx game, I very vividly remember them being like 1-7 or something, and like really doing very
Yikes.
little.
Yikes. That actually might be it. Yeah, jeez. Uh, yeah, they. I don't know. I think that I just like we looked at the XL lineup before and we're like, all right, this first of all they haven't actually played Mickey, which is like I don't know who the special guy is, but he didn't do much, right?
Yeah, I mean
And
he's the same guy from last split, but at the same time, I don't know why they bought Mickey if they're not gonna
yeah, I
use
don't. It
him.
doesn't because he probably hasn't even. Maybe he just didn't show up. Maybe he showed up, got on the plane, and left again. He was like, hang on, wait,
He
XL.
played a scrim. He's like bathroom break, and then never came
He's
back.
like, oh, wait a minute. Did I just sign on to the worst LEC team? Hang on. I forgot. Whoops. Whoopsie daisy. On the plane
There's this
now.
weird thing where I feel like Mickey always ends up on the last place team wherever he goes. Like
Yikes.
on Liquid, he was with them when they were going downhill.
Yeah, a freak. When he was on a freak, they weren't very good. Oh no, they were like
They weren't last place, but they weren't very
they weren't that
amazing.
close because I thought they lost to
No,
almost.
no, no. That's what they ended 8 and 10. So they weren't last. Not even close. They were like
Oh
seventh or
damn,
sixth. Because
seven.
I remember they played like first round playoffs or some shit.
Oh well.
Or got to the tiebreaker. But either way, he was like third place on APK Prince. I think the highest he's ever gotten, and that's about it.
This man,
And that's
this man
Korean
beats
Challenger.
Faker, and this is what he gets. Jesus.
It's the curse, After you beat Faker, you have to give up
Yeah,
all
you
your skill.
gotta
Just like
give.
when Deed and Hjarnan beat up Uzi once, they had to pay the
You
price.
gotta pay the price. Yeah, XL. So their game against Schalke like looked kind of close, which is surprising considering we
Mhm.
just like gave a relative amount of praise to Schalke. I
Right.
don't think that I don't think this team is like unsalvageable
Right.
a reasonable play. Potentially, Mickey could be like the way this team like saves itself in some essence because their mid laner doesn't do anything, and if you have no priority in mid, your jungler can't do much as it is. Jungler is
Yeah.
affected
If
by
you're
melee.
locking in Jace Renekton and only the Renekton's paying
Yeah.
his part of the deal, like it's kind of bad. It's like the second Renekton starts winning, you should have so much pressure on the top middle side of your map. So like, I mean, he's like 1-1-1. It's like that's okay, but it's Jace. Like, you should be dicking on people as Jace Smith. There's not a lot of matchups that you will
Lose.
straight lose in.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
So
And despite like, I don't think Hyonin and Kasing are terrible, and
right,
they do have a good like skill ceiling per se. We've seen them both be like high tier players. In fact, I think they've both been at the top of EULCS standings at least at one point. Not champions,
yes,
but they've definitely been. Kasing's definitely been part of a team that's been doing really well and winning games. So it's not like
yeah. Wait, has Hjarnan G2 ever won? I don't think so,
didn't. You know what? You might be right.
because the Sven's Smithy was the one that
That is
won
true.
a lot. Well, either way, but they were still not. There were no
They,
pushovers. They were just not
they're
winning.
still like solid potential top of the table like for their position. And
Yeah, for sure.
maybe not the best, but you don't have to be the best if the rest of your team as a unit you do well, they're not like the name of they're not I don't want to throw any goddamn random I was gonna say Dokla, like he's always 4-0 in the goddamn NALCS right now, so
Yeah, so we'll
it's not
maybe not Dokla right now, but
but
like,
like some oh god,
uh,
I don't know. It's hard.
the world we
All
live
the
in
players that I usually make fun of are all
are doing quite well
doing
right now.
quite well.
Reckless is 2-0.
God damn you, Reckless, you mother. He'll. You know what?
You beautiful player.
Handsome Swedish man who is only above average at League of Legends in a high competitive.
I would still say he's at the top of the table for NA or EU.
NA for sure, but
Freudian slip. Anyways,
how it,
let's move on from XL. Like, I mean, they're looking salvageable, but I think that there are more interesting teams
this is
still
true.
left to talk about.
Do you have any team you want to talk about? Because
Yeah, so the other game that comes to mind, which I don't think it was like the most interesting game per se, but like I think other than G2 to talk about, I think OG we have to give a shout out for them. The first game that G2 played in was pretty
it was just G2.
one-sided.
G2 just the G2 from MSI just were like, oh, by the way, we have to go play against Splice, and they were like, oh, okay, and then they did.
Yeah, the reason why I wanted to sort of bring it up was like, I mean, okay, we talked about Splice last week. We're like, they're like always kind of okay. Like they're like always like top five. So like maybe they'll put up. No, they rolled over. Holy shit! It was like watching
Yeah.
the fucking PV. Well, no, no, not PvP.
Yeah,
Actually, it
Jesus.
was like watching Flashballs versus G2.
Not
I was gonna say
anyone
like the worst team
but
I could think
yeah.
of at in MSI, and I
You
was like,
should have
wait a
said
minute.
TL then. Oh, got him.
No, hey, TL went 1-1. I don't think this
Yeah,
Splice
and
could
then
ever take a game
yeah,
off
not in
G2.
playoffs they didn't go, but anyway, um,
Yeah.
the
Anyway,
the only notable thing that I thought was like, I mean, of anything, or at least the only thing that I wrote down was, I think it's crazy that Splice were like, oh yeah, let's pick Rumble into Silas in this matchup.
yeah, like,
What?
oh my
You never do
goodness.
that. You never do that.
Never ever. Rumble literally exists solely for his ult. He
Yeah.
spends so much of his kit is weighted into that ult and how powerful it is. So if you have a character who has dashes and can use the ult and can have utility and can be tanky, it's like
Better Rumble, and they're like, hey guys,
and can
do
itemize
this.
better too, because Rumble has to build penetration a lot more
Yeah.
than Silas does. Like it's just like it's such a no-brainer. And I'm like sitting there like they probably saw that like Korea and China were playing Rumble or even NA, and they're like, yeah, that's a good pick, and they just forgot about Silas, the most contested pick right now,
Just,
or one of the
yeah,
most.
it's pretty
You could
nutty.
argue Yumi might be more,
I
but
think that he hasn't. I think that matchup hasn't been seen since that first game. They were like, let's not do that. Nobody do that one, please.
I mean, it's essentially like picking like you see Silas locked in and you pick in Zillion or something. Like you're like, but why?
You pick you lock in Rumble and they pick better Rumble.
Yeah,
Rumble
if you
like
see it,
4.0.
at least like I'm pretty sure if I remember the draft correctly, they at least like didn't pick it after seeing Silas, it was before, so you could like
Yeah,
it could
Rumble's
have just been a shit draft,
potentially
It
Rumble's
happens
usually a safe blind pick, but even then, like,
usually.
I don't know. I think that it just how the hell do you not foresee that when you
Yeah.
Silas is literally one of the best champions in the game still.
Yeah, like yeah, sometimes you can be like, oh, Twitter analyst, but like this is just like you don't need to be a Twitter analyst. You could just be a layman, just sitting there on your couch, and you'd be like, but why?
But wait a minute, what
uh,
does Silas ult do? Hang on.
but we were supposed to be talking about OG.
Yeah,
I forgot. G2 is just always fun to talk about. For OG, like their game one, they pulled off a really good Sona Tarek. Like I think that Sona went like legendary at some point.
Yeah.
Like they took okay. Oh yeah, this is the team I wanted to talk about after OG. Vitality. What the fuck?
Who
Wait,
who can
did Yamato Cannon like quit the team? Like, did he just be like, okay, don't play your style, I'm out?
who can
Because like
explain, dude? This no, we have to talk about OG first. Otherwise, I'm about to go.
OG first.
I'm about to ruin Jizuke's career if he hasn't already himself. Yeah, this game was really, the first game against Vitality was like really interesting, just off the basis that they were like, yeah, we don't have the Tarek with the Sona. Oh well, so Sona's still nuts, apparently.
Yeah,
As it turns
it's like
out,
the first time I've just seen just pick Sona. I was like, wait, you can do that?
like,
Really?
that's allowed, and yeah, apparently you get up you like even CS at like what was it? I think they were even in lane at like I want to say 9 something minutes, 12 minutes. They weren't behind, even though it was an AD Sona. They were even in.
Well, I mean, like 80 roll
Yeah,
Sona,
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah,
literally
okay.
an 80
They
Sona.
were, it
For
was
anyone who
bot
hasn't
lane, yeah,
watched
it
the
was
game.
bot lane Sona, and they weren't behind even in any AD matchup, which usually the Frost Queen's like relic shield is the way, and I guess it's kind of the same, but it's way easier to get that gold lead on Taric and just like lane sustain.
Yeah,
It's a little bit more difficult because this was way more poke orientated, but
I
yeah, I thought that like
I was so surprised it worked.
well, I mean,
I just like legitimately did not think they would go for the Sona.
I think the thing is it works almost the same, just on a smaller
Yeah,
scale.
well,
Right?
because they also got the
Tom Kench.
a huge deal for like keeping her safe
Yeah,
in the early game.
because you eat instead of Tarek ulting, right? So it's kind of the same deal.
Yeah,
Even though the new Tom Kench is a little bit nerfed in that regard, he also pokes as much as she does, and Glacial augment Tom Kench with a Sona in lane that can just sustain him up more than usual, and also poke you and give him move speed so he can get like it. Just oh my god, oh.
I think the implications for this are huge though. Like first of all, like they showed they can play Sona by itself. So now like usually what Vitality did, they did the typical we take Tark away, right?
Yeah.
And so like usually that just shuts down the Sona Tark. You're left with what people thought was the inferior support, but OG showed that either they're really good at Sona, like Patrick is just a really good Sona player or something, or it's actually viable to just pick Sona without Tarek. Because if that's the case, then that's like kind of draft breaking right now because of how the dynamics work for the Sona Tarek teams. And also, one thing I wanted to mention, just because I wanted to flame NA, but also flame EU. It's funny that the best AD carry in EU can't even play Sona as well as Patrick can.
Oh God.
Or at least historically the best, one of the best. I watched Sven's play. I watched Patrick's play. I'm just like, holy shit, it's night and day.
You know what? That guy, that's an NA. He's an NA player now because he's doing bad.
So if an EU player plays well in NA, it's an EU player. But if he plays poorly, it's an NA player.
I thought that's just the rules.
This is the reverse of the rules. But
if they do well, they learn that in EU solo queue, and if they do bad, NA solo queue sucks. So there's no way they could
exactly.
They can't get better. They can only be peak.
You know? But anyways, I do, like, memes aside, I'm actually really impressed. Like, they just played around it so well. Vitality looked like they were just like, what the fuck do we do against that?
And I mean,
I really thought that going into that game, I thought Vitality would hard punish a Sona solo carry, or like Sona 80 carry without the Tarek, but it never happened.
To be fair, they did spend more time putting pressure down in the Camille mid matchup because we're talking about this Sona Tom Kench. We didn't even talk about the fact that Camille mid was played into Azir, which Camille mid is good into Azir. It's the counter pick, but also who the hell is playing?
I think I saw Camille. Well, Camille mid was played in LPL. I think it was into Aurelia as a counter matchup, but not into Azir. But I guess you can pick anything into Azir that's like a bruiser and beat him up. So like,
even then, you were 40. Nuketook was 40 CS down at the start. It wasn't until like it's the pressure that you can expend from mid lane because you can just E to a wall and then jump right up into the river and help your jungler at any point, or just roam around the jungle and get good picks. So it's keeping like roam heavy Camille viable, which is why jungle Camille was so strong and now can't clear.
Yeah, I mean mid lane's like exactly where you want to put those roam heavy characters so you can gank hard. But like it's like a.
Go ahead.
What? Oh no, I was just saying like it's like when Quinn was popular too. Yeah. You could just like better in mid. So like I'm surprised I haven't seen it till now, but maybe it's because it's harder to jump off walls in mid lane.
It's to be fair, it's fairly difficult because you only have a certain like leeway of your angles, and you also can't. Obviously, a lot of the mid laners that you play up against, you can't even farm, so you're always gonna fall behind. Like a 40 CS deficit is like huge. So thinking about how far behind Nuketook was, the only reason he ended up getting like back into the game was a good set of fights in mid, and he even entered once, but it was a good like set of fights around the river, and then like roaming off into the bot side, like attempting a dive, but resultingly ended up just taking a team fight. And then obviously, to be fair, at a certain point, once you're in the mid game and your Sona's scaled up, you just put the Camille and Sona and the Tom Kench together, and Camille can int, and she's still gonna live. So Vitality kind of had a reasonable amount of control for the first 10 minutes, but a reasonable amount of control is not good enough to beat any Sona comp. Like they should have approached this like Sona Tarek, where you go, please win the game before 20 minutes. Kill them.
Surprisingly, like if you get the Tarek, they also like, I guess quote unquote baited them into a bad Tarek team, because like you don't want to play Tarek really ever unless you have Sona. So maybe everyone's been thinking about it wrong, and OG actually has a read on the meta. Like Sona's the one that's important, not Tarek.
It would seem so. It was pretty nuts. That was like a 9, and it was like a 9 in all Sona.
I think she was like 9 kill legendary or 10 kills at the end. I was like, holy fuck! You saw someone. What I remember vividly was like the Zero was in the pool, and Sona just like Q's once, and like as the Zero's healing up, Q auto just lost 2/3 of his health, and I was like, okay then.
Crescendo power chord. It's all.
No, it's only good if you hit it though. TSM, take note.
Power chord's nuts. Sona's actually like, to be fair, Sona is really mechanical off the basis of if you know how to like stack power chords and then use the effective buff of each power chord. But it's so
for sure.
It's so it feels meaningless even though it's not, and it's so
It's a
awkward.
very old League of
Yeah,
Legends design
it's
kind of
it's
character. Like,
ancient.
Jax when he's like popping the fuck off, you're just like all you see is him whacking and using Counter Strike. But like there's actually a lot of work you need to do to play Jax well. Like you have to think a lot.
Don't waste D.
Uh
Q is
yeah,
fucking. Yeah, I mean, you say a lot, but I feel like it's less of, at least for Jax, it's less of don't waste the important things. But Sona, it's the opposite. It's waste the ability to get the right proc. Like, oh,
right. Waste ability so you can set up the right
yeah,
power up
it's
at the
like
moment.
damn.
Like sometimes the 26% damage reduction on the W is
Yeah,
insane on empowered W.
but no one needs
But
healing, but use it anyway.
yeah, and no one knows it's a thing because no one plays Sona except for people who do not play competitively.
Really
Usually, is
old
all I'll say.
players.
Yeah, or really old players because it's very old player friendly. But like knowing the ranges and stuff is not like it's no joke. There's a reason why there are Sona and Tark teams, and then teams who can't play Sona and Tark, even though AD carries are supposed to be mechanical gods. Double if like very notably as a Team Liquor fan, I can say Double if is not a Sona player. He can't play it correctly.
You know, never.
He can play it and he can play it better than Sven did last week. But
Who would have thought that when we're like, oh, by the way, greatest AD carries, can they play Sona? That's gonna be like an epilogue in history. Oh god.
Holy shit, the darkest
Did
timeline.
Deft play Sona? Not even that good at AD carry, honestly.
Honestly, Uzi's not the king of 80 carries if he could never play Sona. And as far as I'm concerned, when I watch the tapes on Wei Xiao, I've never seen him pick
When
Sona.
did he
So
ever play?
actually, to be fair, FZZF took the Sona when they were playing together, but details. Okay, so that's enough about OG. They did a good enough fight. Like they put up a fight against G2. Notably, they didn't, put Nuke Duck on like garbage Lissandra duty or whatever. So it was a lot more exciting, although G2 still looked a cut above them. It definitely looked competitive, which is nice because we did go into the split thinking like, who the fuck can match G2 really?
I thought that Origin, they kind of play like what? They're like a European like Team Liquid, but like peak Team Liquid, you know.
Yeah,
They've got that little European spice.
you cut off.
Jesus Christ. You'd think that it just cuts out for no reason. If I cut off, feel free to just go and explain
Yeah.
things. But yeah, um, they're like an EU Team Liquid, and that's maybe not enough to beat G2. Maybe in a best of 5 if they like, if they bring strategies and they play as well as they did here, I could see it.
Yeah.
They're almost there. They're the closest team. That's all
They're the
really gonna say.
closest. I also don't know how they would match up against literal Team Liquid, but it'll be exciting to see that in 2 weeks from now. But and I mean for me it'll be exciting. Maybe for you it'll be a snooze fest. Anyway, other teams that we should be talking about. Let's talk about
I
Misfits.
thought you wanted to talk about Vitality. We didn't even get.
Oh, okay. So I did want to talk about Vitality, and then I remember they got slaughtered. So like, what I wanted to mention is like they did win. Okay, they did win their day 2 games. To be fair, but holy shit, I've never seen a team like just roll over as hard as Vitality did. I was just like,
they won.
I was like,
Did they win against Splice?
I thought they did. Did I remember who won the game wrong?
They
No.
both are yellow teams. It could be very easy to forget. I don't have the winner written down, but I have how bad Vitality played. So
I remember Vitality played poorly, but I thought they eked out a win. And they were playing Vayne on the day 2, weren't they?
no, they were playing Ezreal Yumi.
Day 2?
Day 2. Yes, versus Splice. Or was that day 1? No, they played. It has to be day 2 because Splice's second game. Splice played day 2 in day 1.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right. No, I'm literally having a brain aneurysm. Yes,
okay.
They did lose to Splice. What the
Yeah,
fuck am I talking about?
and it was really bad. They clearly haven't played Yumi, even though it was open and they just first picked it. And I can tell because they're just out here like way overextending with their Ezreal Yumi. They get a lead on the Ezreal Yumi, and they're like, oh, let's just overextend. I know you're an Ezreal and you've got Arcane Shift, but like if you are even more than halfway through the lane as basically a solo Ezreal because Yumi's attached to you, you're just dead every time. You actually kind of have to play the lane behind, but you have the benefit of being able to poke out and like not be sieged on or anything.
I don't know. Every other region. Okay, so to be fair, you don't see Yumi a lot anywhere except LPL because it's just ban usually. But like every other region that's pull up Ezreal Yumi, it just looks so flat broken.
It is, but it's the way that they
I'm
played
baffled.
it. It's the way that they played it.
Yeah.
Like, you can poke out, you poke people out, but like obviously when you're poking, you want to be in the middle of the. You never want to poke. I mean, you can poke people on the tower, but then you're sieging, and this is not exactly sieging because what tools do they have to escape? When you have
Mhm.
Yumi attached to you, unless your jungle is playing bot side exclusively, then you know that you're kind of just gonna be screwed because they were playing against a Nautilus as well. So like, oh wow, Ezreal ease away from the Nautilus, so you're just dead every time. Like, you can't be any further up. Vitality also, by the way, played triple Kleptomancy. They played Kleptomancy LeBlanc, and which I mean is fair. The point is, ooh, let's get gold. But like, if that isn't gimmicky bullshit, like, ooh, we'll play triple Kleptomancy with Jace LeBlanc. Jizuke just inted. I think he ended the game 0-5 on LeBlanc.
On LeBlanc, which is very.
He inted his ass off. He kept looking for picks on this like Nautilus and stuff, like over the wall. Just oh, I'm dead. Whoopsie daisy. Let's do it again. There was so much. There was so much about like.
He was like, yeah, he was like going for flanks and stuff, and then like Poppy would just be like, "What are you trying to do, my dude?"
Is really.
And then he just kept getting caught by Poppy, and then just
it was sad.
Hook. Like it's so easy after you get caught. Like the Nautilus will just lock you down, or the Elise will cocoon you.
Humanoid looked good in that
I
game.
mean,
But Jizuke made Humanoid look good, so.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like Spice was not super hot day one,
and
but
to be fair, G2, but
yeah. I mean, no one's looking like that hot. Period.
they didn't.
But
I mean, to be fair, they didn't really even look. I don't think they looked that hot this game. It just so happened that Vitality just give them everything.
you don't think that Kabe is the best or second best AD carry in EU?
I'm gonna have to say no.
I watched the power ranking recently. Kabe was very high on Frost and Dracos' list. So
yeah, I think maybe they mistook, whichever one. They thought that was upset or something. I don't know.
Oh, they did. They put upsets first, to be fair. But
I mean, upset might be
anyway.
First, but then where's Perks? What? He just won
They
MSI.
put Perks pretty much lower.
Much lower. These guys are paid to analyze League of Legends.
I mean, yeah. Although Perks was like not looking so hot in the game against OG until later. He popped off. He was like 8-2 on Zio, which admittedly is his best AD carry in my opinion. Like true. I think his Zio historically has literally just been the one AD carry. He just looks like a top tier player on no matter if it was mid lane Perks or funnel Perks or jungle or AD carry Perks. Not jungle Perks yet, Yanko. So watch out for your job though.
Yeah.
Dude, 2020. Forgiven. He joins the team.
Yes. Perfect. No, I thought they were doing 5 mid laners. That was their dream, right?
That's the dream. I mean, there's not enough like Exodia tier mid laners left in EU yet.
Yeah, but they can go get.
Yeah, maybe if Nemesis gets to the next level, there's still another Fnatic mid laner.
They're just churning them out. Like Fnatic, thank you for that other mid laner. I thought they were gonna get the rookie since he's washed now because he didn't win MSI. They're like rookie.
Yeah, that's how it worked. Do you want to talk about Fnatic?
Since I only seen one of their games, I can only really talk so much. But
maybe we'll like talk more about them in depth next week because the misses from that game was okay. It was like a decent game, so it's kind of it's not worth talking about Fnatic if we're only talking about the SK game. And we already mentioned it in passing with the SK versus Fnatic game we talked about for SK.
Talk about Rogue since this was also something that we were like considering how well is this team gonna do, and I'm so upset Because I'm like, I watched the first game. You know, I'm like, this
Uh-huh.
team could make sixth. I believe in their peak form, this could be a sixth place team. Uh, so Woolite just decides that he's gonna walk up into the LEC studio and he's gonna sit down. He's gonna log in. He's gonna load up the League of Legends client. He's gonna get in the game, and he's like, "Oh, fuck! I forgot how to play League of Legends." He was so focused on arriving and sitting down and taking in the new studio that he hasn't been in a while that he just
He's like, wow, it's called LEC
oh
now. Look
it's
at the new
look at all
branding.
this
We have
oh I've never
so
seen
much
I've never
production
seen all these
value.
players before. This is no who was this guy? I'm trying to
Oh my god.
I've got it written down and I still can't figure it out. So he's 0-1-0 with 21 CS at 4 minutes and 42 seconds, right?
I think at CSDF 15 was like
60,
61 or
yes.
something.
So he dies, he respawns, he walks to lane and then up through the jungle because he's trying to help his jungler for a second, and then he's like, oh, nothing's happening, never mind. He plants over to the river by 5:30. He doesn't have a support in lane by 5:50. And then by 6 to 7 minutes, he's still 30 plus CS down. He walks so in the time that he got into the river and he walks in, he has to wait 20 seconds for his for his support, so he doesn't walk up to the minions, so he misses an entire wave again, even though he missed a wave on the wave going all the way up to the jungle. Like, what was he doing? What was he? What was happening?
I starting to understand. We asked these questions when we were doing our preview show. I was like, Woolite was pretty good when he stopped playing for Rocket. I wonder what he's been doing for the last 4 years.
Sitting in the river, apparently.
I haven't seen a man get outclassed to this extent since like the back in the days when it was like Uzi versus that Fanatics replacement
Steelback.
AD carry when like there was someone even worse.
Oh,
Or maybe it wasn't Fnatic, but I remember Uzi playing Ezreal and being up 100 CS on an Ashe player who was an EU AD carry who was like not considered that great.
I can't think.
This was back in like season 4. It was like Boydle? No, Boydle's the supporter.
I'm trying to think, but I can't think of anyone.
Well, I'll bring it up some other time. But my point is like, in the modern era, watching an AD carry player, like, okay, viewers, don't be fooled. I know Rogue went 1-1, and that's like a huge improvement from last split. But holy shit, that was so disgusting. Like Inspired, Prophet, and Larson, especially like I mean Larson's new, so like he's right okay. But Inspired, Prophet, and Larson on the other side of the map, they're like, you know, this is like a solid game. You look down in the bot lane, you're like, holy shit. What?
I'm pretty sure Larson or Prophet might have thought that maybe they actually just queued up for EU solo queue and that AD carry died once and was like, oh, by the way, guys, I hate you all. It just throws in all the obscenities in several different languages. Like, I'm AFK, by the way. I'm just going to walk around in River, troll, goddamn noob, jungler never ganks. Like, that's genuinely what it must have goddamn looked like. Holy crap. And Misfits,
the most confusing part was like day 2 he looked okay, like he played fine on his dive. So like did the man just like not know Kaisa was in the game? Like was he only has he like been in a coma and so like he like logged in? They're like, okay, well like lock in Kaisa
2014
he's like
comes into the game. It's like, wow.
He's like Captain America when he comes out. He's like he only knows like the things from back then. So he's like, what the fuck?
Kaisa? What? Yeah, I
is this a jungler? I guess I'll go into the river.
Go. I don't even know. It's insane. It was ridiculous. And I know that Misfits ganked bot like loads, but like this was all pre-gank stuff. This was 4 minutes into the game.
Yeah, like you can definitely say they camp bot after, but like this is like when you're the jungler in solo queue, like the bot laner is auto-filled. Let's go camp him.
Get that guy. Like, oh my god. The only thing that like Misfits could have made a million mistakes in this game and still looked great. Although to be honest, the top side of Rogue like actually looked solid. Like they weren't losing.
The game ended 16 to 12 in terms of kills.
They weren't losing to Misfits, which was really good for them because that is an improvement. On the Rogue side, Febby was overcommitting to everything. Every time he went anywhere, he'd overcommit and die. And I thought like, oh, you know, Rogue might if Woolite wasn't just whatever the goddamn. If he wasn't Copenhagen Wolves Airhawks or whatever that guy's name was, that awful. I'm pretty confident
Yeah,
that
I think it was Airwalks.
that might have been the guy that played.
It's a long time ago.
That's like the on. We're talking about old ass garbage players. Like, oh my god, if he wasn't so trash, then that game might have actually been winnable for Rogue, because they started strong, and their second game and the next game it was against XL. Unfortunately, every team that's going to go up against XL is going to look.
Anyone can win against XL. It looks like doesn't matter.
Expect actually looked really strong in that game again, so any kind of like matchup for Profit per se kind of goes all right. That that's a fair amount of credit to be able to beat Expect. Although I don't even think Profit did, sure. But Woolite found himself down again.
They both looked okay. Like it's there's just like EU caliber top wins, which is a good thing.
It was the Renekton Rumble matchup as well. I think I'm pretty confident it was. So it was like they kind of eke out against each other eventually.
I just remembered his name. His name was Pushu.
Pushu, there you go. I remember that guy.
PUSDU, the Fnatic replacement AD carry because Reckless was an update. He
was on SK at the time before.
No. In the match where he got dicked on, it was definitely the Fnatic AD carry.
Oh no, I know, Season but I mean 3. Before he he was replacement, but I think he might have played for SK at the time, and then they were like, oh fuck.
Oh yeah.
Guy. Yeah. Random, like a really old league.
Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah.
Throwback. I just remember. I'm like, I haven't seen a Flame Horizon in the bot lane in a long time, especially in a domestic league.
Yeah, Christ.
Maybe Forgiven has done it, probably. But I can't remember.
I want to say probably just because it's Forgiven. A little bit of a fan.
Oh yeah, speaking of Forgiven, Woolite is on this team instead of free agent Forgiven.
By the way, the guy that's still down in CS on the Ezreal Yumi, and I don't know. I just
against.
This was against XL. So he was against not Jinx. Jinx was the Hand Slammer game. God, who were they even then?
It was against. He was playing Xayah, and it was against. I'll just bring it up because I can't remember off the top of my head. It was against Ezreal Yumi. Ironically.
Yeah, I just.
Hiernan on Ezreal and Yumi.
He's down in CS against a lane that should be getting intentionally pushed in on, like so that it can exist because it doesn't want to be. It needs to play safe. So Lord knows how that happens because he was pushing in. I mean, I guess it's just most of my notes for the goddamn XL Rogue game ended up being that I just think that XL looked really bad because Rogue managed to win the game. Like, here's a note: the Lee Sin Cadril from XL played Lee Sin, and he got all of the dragons up to 25 minutes, but he didn't get a single kill. He didn't do anything. So what the hell were Rogue doing? They were just letting him get dragon. I know.
Yeah, like it's like baffling. Like you could say like he has enough control to get those ejected, but at the same time, if you didn't get a single kill, what's stopping you? Like legitimately, what is stopping you from rotating? You could say like, oh, if there was like huge CS deficits, you could say like there was so much pressure, he was under tower, so the dragons are free. No, this is like an even CS game.
Sejuani was just scared to go to dragon because watch out, Lee Sin, he might get one kill.
It pretty much boiled down to like both teams weren't doing much, and then the jungler just had enough balls to just go to the dragon. I mean, to be fair, it is Sejuani, so like she can't contest as easily, but like you don't just give it for free, right? Like
it's just a bit weird because they eventually went and got them like after 25, but it just took them a long time to realize that the dragon was even on the map. So their objective was a little sloppy from their first two games.
I've been trying to throw around the idea on the internet and on Reddit, like it would be really cool if we had the bottom tier teams from every region play together to see who's the like best of the shitters, which I thought would be interesting. But sometimes I do watch games like this and I'm like, I don't know if I would watch past the novelty of it.
I mean, we've already seen Renegades Dignitas once, so I don't know. I don't know if I want to see an entire tournament that is just that.
I'm still thoroughly convinced that there was foul play involved in that series. There's no
way that a competitive League of Legends game happened that way.
It doesn't even happen in my games very often.
Like it's nuts.
It's
Ah,
okay. But the other throwbacks. We already talked about. So let's see. Of all the teams who have we not talked about
Misfits would
yet?
probably be the team I think,
N-
because we're technically
Yeah.
skipping Fnatic. So
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
we'll just briefly go over what I had. Again, I technically only seen one Misfits game, um,
Yeah.
because I
So
missed
we'll
the
talk about
Fnatic
the one
one,
you've
but
seen.
that was the one against Rogue.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, hit me with your analysis of Misfits. How you feel like this team's look coming together? Because I don't think it's very good so far.
I think that they game one they drafted literally all lane dominant champions like Elise, Jarvan. Oh, maybe you could argue Jarvan, but Elise, Jarvan, and Jace as your top three characters, and you're only going even against Rogue. My analysis is that's not a good look. Like you won this game because their bot lane was down 100 CS. Let's be real.
Mm.
Like they were playing 3.5 v5, and Prophet, Inspired, and Larson looked like okay. Like yeah, there's some CS deficits, but like it's expected in those matchups, especially with an Elise jungler and Nerf Rek'Sai. I think Max Lord's. I don't know if Max Lord's ever gonna play like we saw him back in season 7 Worlds,
Yeah.
or is it season 6 Worlds?
7. It must be 7 because 6 makes it sound like it was ages ago, and I feel like Max Low was doing okay only like a season ago.
Like somewhat recently, before the franchising era.
Yeah.
My point is like they won, but it did not inspire confidence. And game 2 that they lost to
Yes,
Fnatic.
they lost that game.
They lost to Fnatic. Yeah, it was closer too. But I'm just like fundamentally uninspired by Max Lord. So far. Like
This guy.
his greatest impact, you haven't seen this game yet, but his greatest impact so far the last 2 days has been that he played Skarner and 3 people had to build QSS, or 4 people technically, because 1 finished it. 4 people had to build QSS to counter it. That's the most impact he's had, in my opinion.
This
Soas is also looking a little so-so, which is a kind of a worrying thing, but it is the regular season at the beginning, so I'm at least willing to use the huge bevy of historical experience for Soas and be like, okay, maybe he can still turn it on, because like he got the OP Aatrox pick and he didn't do much with it, which is a little bit sad to see.
Yeah, I
looking a little better. So there's that. I mean, there was another side to that 100 CS lead. So I mean, having a world class support like Gorilla on your team with Hansama should be like the like the Exodia bot lane. It should be what it takes to like at least like match up against G2 well, right?
Yeah,
like
I mean, even when Hansama was playing with Ignar, that team looked like really good. So you'd think that
and like Ignar is like a BBQ relegated support. Like
Gorilla.
I mean, Ignar's not looking terrible in EU, but like Jesus.
All those BBQ players
all those BBQ players are coming back home, boys.
On their way back. The Korean barbecue's over. Let's go get back to EU.
What if they drag the sponsorship over there? You just have a BBQ Rogue or some shit.
Best, though. I want
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you think about Misfits? Yeah, I know you only saw one game, but like
the game was against Rogue, and the comments outside of like, oh, Forbidden was just like, oh, hey man, let me just overcommit. I still like look at the team on paper and I find it hard to break away from the narrative of like, damn, this team was 7-0 at one point, and then they like just shit the bed. Surely all they have to do is read the meta or like just something, just fucking do something and not lose the game, because they clearly were winning, and it's not just like their players aren't bad. I mean, Max Low goddamn replaced Cacao, just probably. I mean, maybe it's hard to say, but one of the best junglers of all time. Like,
yeah, but Cacao like already had his soul drained out in IG.
It's true that it was like an EU Cacao, but like they looked at him and went, you know what? We're not going to play with the Korean import, which most teams don't do. Most teams stick with that no matter what, because they're just like mechanical prowess and experience and ability to just take leads is more important than communication. If you can just slowly.
That's not necessarily true though. You guys had Spirit, you had Trick, you had Cacao.
Spirit.
You still had Trick. For a long time, like 3 splits.
Still in EU. Expect is still in EU. Pyrian came to EU.
Well, Trick left for a while for the BBQ stint. Expect left EU?
I don't think so. I think he just didn't get a team for a while.
He just didn't get a team for a while. Really, at that level of play. I to be fair, I just didn't hear from
I think he was
Expect
on
for
an
a
EU
while.
Masters team. I think.
Let's see. He went to Zenix Storm G2 Origin for the EU Masters Origin,
Yeah.
and then Fnatic as a sub XL, and then 2144 Gaming. I don't know who the hell that is.
Who knows? Actually, is that a? I've heard that name before. I don't.
It's a Chinese. No, it's a Chinese team. I don't think you've heard of
I
them.
swear, maybe I've seen them in like Wikipedia or something.
Yeah, you probably saw. Oh well, Ming was the AD carry for that team. What the fuck? Okay,
Okay.
this is a strange world. Okay.
Yeah. All right then. I guess that team exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Point being that
Oh, it's a different Ming. Okay, it's not the Ming we
a
know.
lot of the time, I feel like teams tend to keep their Korean imports more so than maybe when they should. So Max Law,
Right.
we've seen him have highs, and they go, "Oh wow, this guy like could be better than Kakao." Well, we'll keep him, and I don't know where he's been. I don't know.
I mean, even at Worlds that one time, they said best EU jungler. It always seems like this is the best EU jungler. He comes back home and he's like, "All right, that's all I got."
You're welcome, by the way.
He expends his lifeblood for his team, and then
It's
he's
just
done.
it's crazy, man. Cause
Holy shit! Worlds international events do things to EU players sometimes.
you gotta give your all, and then that's it. You have nothing left. So
They burn out from one tournament.
pretty much.
But yeah, Misfits, they're not okay. They're still not looking terrible. They had pretty close games.
Just a second. You can keep talking, but to explain. But I'll be like 30 seconds.
Yeah, go for it. So since I watched the second game, Misfits, I think they still did quite well. They put up a pretty good fight. I know we're memeing on Maxler, but he wasn't actually terrible in the early game. Like his pathing was fine for the most part. Hansama and Gorilla were doing really well. Like that Silver Lux lane, I was not really convinced on paper that Silver Lux would beat Zaya Rakan. And like I know that there was almost a 100 CS deficit there, so like keeping that in mind, even despite the fact that like at the end of the game was like 510 to 420 CS, like in the early game, I think Hansama and Gorilla just played pretty fine. Like they ended 7-3 and 19 as a combined bot lane. So like them and to some extent Forbidden did fine in their Misfits game. They were only down 2 kills, or the Misfits Fnatic game. They were only down 2 kills and up 4 dragons to 1, or 5 dragons to 1. So like, I mean, it's surprising that they lost in the way that they did, and I think so as just I don't know. I don't think it's comfortable on new Aatrox. I think that's what happened in the Misfits Fnatic game. So I'm not gonna sell out Misfits yet. I need to see more tape on them versus the other top team.
I suppose that's the case with every team so far, really, considering it's only been 1 week.
It's week 1, true.
And obviously NA's had 2, which there's a big disparity. Like there's a huge disparity between going like week 1 and week 2 in LCS. Teams have seen everything that like you're gonna start to throw out, and that's when the real competition kind of starts. So you're like, all right.
Yeah, like sometimes it's like this team
up.
has spent all of off season preparing for these like initial matchups, so like they look super hot, you know, like.
But
or they get a good meta read or something. But we'll see how as the teams mature and the meta matures, we'll see what happens. Because right now we're playing like a warped MSI meta for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's the meta that we've got now as well. I don't even like it that much because we've got like Sejuani Jarvan's just disappeared, and Sejuani.
Well, he still played a bit.
Jarvan's played more than Rek'Sai, but Sejuani's played like, and then obviously if Sejuani shows up, Olaf shows up because like, I don't want to get Sejuani ulted. I don't know how that happened. I don't know what happened there.
I mean, they buffed Sejuani a while back. They buffed Cinderhulk. They nerfed Rek'Sai, Jarvan the Fourth, and they nerfed.
The nerfs weren't particularly huge.
They weren't huge, but they were enough to like swing the pendulum over to the Olaf camp. Like Olaf has played a lot. Trundle's being played to counter Sejuani when you see her. I like the meta right now because all the games are mostly short. Like
that's true.
In NA, the average game time like on day 2, like every game was 30 minutes or 32 minutes. So like for me, that's great. I think in EU they're slightly longer, but G2 is lowering that average time. G2 was like G2 looked at Splice and they're like, all right, we gotta shape up this league. Kick them in. We have to put them through boot camp.
I mean, if every team plays against G2 twice, which they have to, then
Unfortunately for them,
they'll rub off a little bit, and every team can have a little bit of G2 inside them and be a little bit better. The
yeah.
ZU team's looking real good.
I mean, that's naturally what should happen, right? A hyper powerful team should slowly raise the average skill level because they have to face against them and scrim against them and practice against them. So like, it's only good news for LEC. Whether or not they'll win Rift Rivals is a different story. But like, yeah.
Speaking of which, that's
So
probably what we should talk about since it's just gonna interject in the middle of LEC anyway.
yeah, we should. That's what I was thinking too. So G2.
Yeah, G2 win Rift Rivals. All right, good talk. I'm glad we had this conversation.
Yeah, G2 and 0 at Rift Rivals, and the rest of the EU loses their games.
Really, you think that? Who's so?
Hey,
it was the last.
It's the last top three. So Origin or Origin and Fnatic.
Technically, right.
Yeah, Fnatic, Origin, and TSM or
TSM.
G2 versus TSM. TSM. Honestly, knowing how TSM plays at international tournaments, it's gonna be C9 and Team Liquid don't drop a game, and TSM drops every game.
Hell yeah.
But memes aside, I think it'll be close. Like no meme. I think that TSM, Team Liquid, and C9 are very similar caliber teams. Well, I think that actually, now that I've seen week one, it's a little harder to say. Before, I would have been much more sure, but I do think Fnatic and Origin look better than they did going into the split.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Origin. So, I feel like Origin beat TSM, and I feel like Origin match up well against C9, but like that could kind of go either way, and I'd be like, oh, I can see that one, but I would probably edge it to Origin just because I'm European, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a loss.
I would say it's like an even matchup as an NA plan, but I think Liquid still has the edge over Origin. I think that even though we did say Origin's the better Liquid in terms of other parts of their style, I just think that caliber of players, like down the line, you could say that Nuke Duck is better than Jensen. I could contest it, but I could see it. But Cold is at least internationally speaking, when he was trashy, like I don't think he was particularly
not very good.
He did beat TSM. That's true. Actually, now that I think about it, Splice did win a game off TSM in the. Or is it Splice or Misfits? No, he didn't. It was Misfits. Or did Splice also take a game off TSM at one of the worlds? Because Misfits upset TSM to get into that SKT match. That's one of those historic like TSM bunk outs.
Wasn't it Splice that went to what? Splice went to the worlds where
they were in the group with RNG and TSM.
And like Senkux played like Syndra or something. I think it was Senkux.
I do remember. Okay, it might have been both
Misfits
and Splice
like,
that
top
have
lane
upset
Syndra, and like TSM were just like, oh, let's go answer that because that's a dumb idea. Like it was something ridiculously stupid that.
Yeah, anyway. I do believe that Cold has had a win over TSM, but my point being is Cold didn't look that amazing at Worlds historically, and I do know that Xmithy can at least show up against top tier teams. Like he's not that consistent, so I think that's at least a matchup. Impact is probably still technically outmatched by
the likes of I'm trying to even think Alphari.
Alphari, Jesus fucking Christ! It's always Alphari because like whenever I think of Alphari, I think it's Misfits Alphari, but it's not anymore. So I get mixed up. So maybe, but like Impact won't get dicked on. Like he's already shown at least like at this MSI, he's like currently pretty hot. And then the bot lane is like Patrick Mithy. Mithy at least can't beat Doublelift. I just not convinced that even this version of Mithy is better. So I think Liquid is still favored.
The Sona, dude. They're gonna pull out Sona.
God, that tilted me so much that you can play AP carry Sona. But okay, back to G2. We'll talk Rift Rivals in like a week or so.
Yeah.
G2 looking great across the board. Wonder is playing on fire. He is playing so good. League of Legends. Whenever I see other Pyke top laners, I just like that meme where it's like you're with the girlfriend and then you look back at the other person. I'm like NA Pykes, Wonder's Pyke. Holy shit! It's just like night and day when I watch Wonder play specifically. Like, I'm not saying G2 is playing poorly, but like the man's playing like a man possessed. He's just like, okay, I had some close matches against the Shy. I had one close match against the Shy. I got to dick on all the other top laners. Like I'm angry. I'm gonna prove I'm one of the best, if not.
G2's style, it hasn't changed, but you still see like very much Caps would be like, oh, let me just like push this wave up and then let's just go top, and that's always what they've always kind of done.
Yeah.
They really like the team. It's almost like Caps says Wonder is the star of the team, and he is in the essence of they have a goddamn superstar lineup, but
Right.
they're always invested in like letting
Caps go
Wonder
free.
carry the game,
Oh,
like no matter what.
well, I would say that they are invested in putting both Wonder and Caps. Like
Well,
they
both
played
people would get
like
gold in the end, right? When you
that's
get a
true.
kill. So, but I mean, like as a map movement, it's not. Oh, let's gank Caps. Let's gank Caps. Caps has to
That's true.
make the
That's
play,
true.
and he's like, oh, let me just go top. Wonder you can kill them, right?
That is true. I mean, like Caps had like a 30. I have got it pulled up actually. He had 33% damage share game one on that Syndra play, and it was I mean, okay, when you're stomping, it's just kind of like
It costs more damage.
yeah, they're gonna obviously like a 2-0 team will usually have really good stats on the board. So I'm not like gonna say G2 is gonna go undefeated during the split, which I guess we could go on the topic
They
real quick because
could.
like I think this is like it's a topic of discussion right now in the community. I think it's too early to say. Obviously, they could, but I think that G2 will be more focused on Worlds. That's their ultimate goal right now. Like they've already destroyed EU, right?
Yeah.
So I think that they'll probably be trying. If any meta shift happens, something new comes out like that Kiaxa,
Kiana.
the new champion, Kiana. Sorry, I'm gonna play her. She looks cool if she's a jungler. But anyways, I think they're gonna try new shit so that they can be competitive on the world stage. Like they want to defend their international titles. And I don't think
She's gonna be ready for Worlds, isn't she? I never even thought about
she's
that.
like I'm looking at the play like the release time for like they put the trailer out already. She's definitely gonna be ready for
Oh
Worlds, right?
no.
Unless she's bugged as fuck, but I think she's gonna like break. She's gonna be so strong. I'm like looking at all her abilities.
Yep.
I'm like, there's so much skill expression in
There's
this
a
character.
lot.
Like Yinkos is gonna like pop off on the other.
I
Well,
think. Well, she's an AD.
there are
She
still
looks like an AD assassin, but I think that
she is an AD
the
assassin.
reason that she might be played in jungle is off the basis that she wants to be
She
in.
needs to interact
Yeah.
with bush, river, or walls, right? Which is like
That means
surprisingly is in
her numbers have
jungle.
to be good in order to like reach to be a jungler, right? So that means that she's
But she could
gonna
also
be
be a top
nuts.
laner because you still have a bush and a wall everywhere in top lane too.
That's
So
true. Oh, Pike. Oh,
and
wow.
then
Hell yeah.
and then when numbers are good, you know that'll go to mid lane because it's gonna be a shit show.
She's
So
gonna be
I
nuts.
she's gonna be nuts. You heard it here first.
Oh no.
But LEC wise, I think they'll probably drop a game, but I don't think it'll be because they're getting outclassed. I think it'll be because they'll be doing the liquid thing where they're like, we're gonna just try out new more things. We're gonna try more mages in the bot lane. Oh, that mage didn't work. Okay, but that's fine. We know it now because like there's no risk. Like even if they don't win the regular season undefeated, they're most likely gonna win playoffs, and they're most likely even if they don't do that, they'll get into worlds with points. Like G2 should just be using this to power up.
Yeah, I hard to disagree really when you consider what they've already said. They weren't even thinking about necessarily winning MSI. They were just like,
Yeah, that's the
we
part
want to
that like
win
surprised me. They're
worlds.
like, we're gonna phone it in for MSI. I'm like, okay, and then they win it, and I was just like, God, if this is
Oh
them phoning it in,
jeez.
I'm like, EU is
But
fucked.
they did get like they did get meta shifted on, right? We're like, oh damn, EU's winning MSI. God, Carly, get her out. Silas, get him out of here. No, none of those champions didn't nerf Pike, so we're still safe.
For now,
Yeah.
yeah. The Pike developers really like Pike back there in
It's true.
NALCS. He doesn't get nerfed very often, if he does.
He's been really broken for a while. Ugh. Anyway,
Yeah, especially in solo.
I actually think that I don't think G2 are likely to go undefeated just off the basis that they could have went undefeated last split. It's not like their fall off at the end just before playoffs. You're like, oh, what were they doing? They'd already secured first place, and then they dumpstered playoffs. So it's not even like, oh, dude, there's like 4 games or something, whatever it was, where they looked kind of weak. Oh no, G2 are looking weak coming into playoffs. Are they? Did they? They just sweep playoffs like it was nothing, and then they pretty much kind of sweep MSI.
Well, they also literally switched back in Mickey X for the playoffs. So like, it'd be like if you had
That's right. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you got to remember, like a lot of those losses, not all of them, but a lot of their downfall was with Promise Q too. Like it's like having Pyrian in, and then you go to playoffs like Faker. Okay, you can come back now, and he's like, all right.
Oh, thanks. Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else is there any interesting topics? Usually I'd bring one, but I'm slightly
I would,
unprepared.
yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's just week one.
Week
We'll
one.
get into the groove of things as we go through it, and we'll build up a routine. All I wanted to say was that I'm disappointed in Schalke. Like, yes, they won in a game, but it was against Excel,
And their game against
and
SK looked like it was.
it's like it's so baffling to go up by that much gold and like map control and not get a single dragon the whole game. Like you're up 9-3 and you don't have the dragon lead. What? And then
It's the same shit. Every time they got to the goddamn dragon, they just refused to
yeah,
go on it. They just didn't want to start it, and
it just felt like someone had reversed the scoreboard on for the players, like the Schalke players. So they were just like, oh yeah, we're down 6 kills or 7 kills. We can't do anything here.
It was nuts.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention, at least on my end, before we start doing the closing, is that I don't think Fnatic deserved to win the game that they won. When you do watch it, you'll see what I mean. But like, they got pretty goddamn lucky in that game.
Yikes.
And that luck extended to the rest of the game. But regardless, they got the win, and a win's a win. So that's all I have to say for LEC this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's week one, so we'll see how things go. You know what? Let's do. I have a on the fly. I'm so good at coming up with stupid things. We're gonna, if I can be bothered, and maybe I will. I'm gonna edit in somewhere. We're gonna call it like the rogue counter or like the rogue meter or something. Because I wanna. This is the team that I'm invested in. Like I personally am invested in getting them to playoffs, to 6th place. I need to see.
Oh man.
I need to see this this 6th place.
Is that
team.
really the hill you want to die on, my dude? I mean,
yes!
we definitely. I'm down for the idea, but this is like an abusive relationship where you're like, I've already dated him for so many years, and I'm like, he's gonna get better. I'm like, he's not gonna get better.
This or Misfits, and Misfits on paper look good, but Misfits also, like, first of all, I'm all about the challenge. Over here in EU,
you're all about the challenge.
Over here in EU, we really like challenging. You know, we like to challenge ourselves because we know it makes us better. We don't just take the easy way out like over there in NA where they're just like, oh, let's just pay the good players to come over. We actually brew our.
Is that why so many of your EU talents just leave because they love the challenge?
No, most of them are sick of the challenge. It's too difficult over here, and a lot of them can't.
I wouldn't say so. Bjergsen,
they can't hack it. Bjergsen's a chump, dude. He's a.
Bjergsen's been here forever. Jensen's been here forever. Sven left his world championship team to come here.
Yeah, and whatever happened to all of them, dude. Did you see Bjergsen at
Hey,
Worlds?
Bjergsen has won 5 NALCS, so he's actually been at Worlds a lot of times.
Yeah, and has he ever made it out of groups?
Once.
Sven also just inting over at Baron. Just.
I mean, okay, let's be fair. The one time TSM did get out of groups, they also played against Samsung White, Prime Samsung White.
And Samsung White trolled that game. You can watch it back.
I know they won the game, but it was the most troll game I've ever seen.
Samsung White are just like, oh.
The only team to take a legitimate win off of Samsung White was Royal that tournament, and it still didn't matter because they trashed them in 3 games after the game won. So
and Blue couldn't even beat them. Like the team that just
beats
them
the kryptonite for them.
They're just like, I'm good. I don't want to lose this time.
I think it was also partially the meta, but season 4 is season 4. We could do like a Worlds breakdown someday, like season 3 breakdown, season 4 breakdown for all the people who haven't watched them. The only one I haven't watched is season 1, and I don't know if that will matter for a breakdown rundown.
Hey, we could do it anyway.
I mean, we could do it. It's pretty interesting in terms of picks, but
yeah. So the rogue meter. So what?
Rogue meter, right?
We gotta figure out what it determines.
How do we measure their rogue the rogue meter?
The rogueness. Okay, so so each week we're gonna say obviously we're gonna talk about how well Rogue did. So the rogue meter is essentially, do we think how close they are to making playoffs based on each week? So right now, it's week 1. Let's say if it's, I'm trying to think of I'm not trying to make it arbitrary while still making it funny, which is the number rate them between 1 and 6, because 6 is the place that they'll be in if they actually peak. So for week 1, where's Rogue on the Rogue meter? Either playoffs meter, whatever the fuck we want to call it.
Right now it's Rogue meter.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
this.
It's week 1, so it doesn't really matter, you know.
So is one bet the worst and
one
6 is the
one is
best?
worse and 6 is the best, and
And 6 means that you go to
yeah,
playoffs. Is that what it
means
means?
that you think they're going to playoffs,
Okay,
and
I
1
understand.
means that, you know, not even
I
10th. 1 could be get him relegation. We're bringing it back specifically just for Rogue to get him out of here.
Okay. I would say that they are at a through 3.5 right now out of 6.
Ah, see, I was only
Yeah.
going to give them a 2, so you're way more on the Rogue train
I
than
mean,
I am.
I'm way on. Well, I mean, you made this meter, so I'm surprised. But real quickly, I'll say why. It's not super analytical, but like their top 3 is actually quite good. Like they actually have power in their lanes. Holy fuck! Like as long as they put Woolite on like super safe duty, like Zyracon's pretty safe, and like as real super safe. Like they have Tom Kent still in the meta. Like they can hide him, and he can just all he has to do is like auto attack because he didn't do badly in his XL game. Obviously, it's against XL, but Larson could be actually a really good player, and Inspired seems better so far than whoever the fuck they had last year.
Whoever could remember.
Who was it?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We don't remember.
I should know this, but okay, yeah. My point is like I think Rogue doesn't because it's only for 6, right? And they're already 1-1. If they just go 1-1 every week, they'll make playoffs. So like,
that's all they gotta do.
Think
they just have to be.
I think that right now at their trajectory, they're in 8th, which makes sense to me. That's like a 3.5 of the way to 6.
And keep in mind that saying that they only have to go 1-1 every week. That means that they have to beat at least every team in the league once, or one team twice. What team would they beat twice? XL.
No, XL they would beat twice. No, they don't have to. That just means they have to beat a few of the teams twice, and then go 0-2 against some of the top teams. Like you could do any permutation, but I'm not expecting them to beat a top team.
We'll see. I want to see this.
We'll see. It's not that hard to sneak into 6. You can also be 8 and 10 and get 6th place. It depends on the year, because 9 and 9 actually used to be historically like the worst, the highest score to never make it to 6th place. But usually it's like 7 and 11 or 8 and 10 is good enough for a tiebreaker. Yeah, but we'll keep track of our boys Rogue. Maybe we'll learn the other Rogue players' names so we have a legacy for them. But
I think
I'm trying to think of other ways to measure it. Like maybe it's like Rogue didn't like the number of ints if they don't like a certain amount of time where like they're over the Rogue meter bar.
How many times? How much? Okay, it's literally just like a live counter of Woolite's CSD, like, but like
as long
in his solo queue games as well. Just it's at any given moment. What is his CSD?
As long as you can keep it above a negative 15 by 15 minutes average, I think we can do this. Oh my god, poor
and the Rogue is gonna change like every week just because it's better that way.
I've never seen the hype for a returning oldie player die so quickly than in the first 15 minutes of that game.
It was sad. Honestly, just call Forgiven already. Just call them up in the middle of.
Is it too late? Are our rosters locked in? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, they're locked in the basis of. You can still sub. You can sub him if you sign him like now, but you'd have to.
So that's what I'm saying. Can you still sign yet, or is it our contracts all locked in?
You can still sign him.
To the academy roster, right?
Yeah,
that's what I
thought.
So
once they're on an academy team, they can be swapped up.
Right. That's why I want him to be on an academy. I legitimately don't know why no one has picked up Forgiven, unless he's actually still like unplayable with. But like, I don't know. Vander didn't dislike him, so.
Yeah, Anna Vander.
Okay,
fun.
but
we'll get to that.
We'll talk about it at some other time. If okay, real quick, the Rogue meter will be instantly filled up if they sign Forgiven. End of story.
It'll be the Rogue meter will be like
we'll just
10th, and they're gonna win this. They're gonna win the split. We'll believe now. We'll see.
No, we'll just plaster Forgiven on the meter.
That's where it is.
His face is just 10 or 6 Forgiven faces up.
All right. Well.
Anyways.
That's gonna be it for week 1. We'll come back next week, same time, more than likely. Although the upload schedule might be a little bit messy because this will probably be up on a Tuesday. We'll see. Whatever time that it's actually up, I will keep it consistent. I just don't know what time I'm gonna be able to like edit this immediately. So we'll see from there. there's not really too much out on the outro. There we go. English. It's a
Yeah.
hard language.
As usual, you can catch us on our socials. We'll be on the All In
Twitters.
podcast if you care about NA
That
more.
will go somewhere here, there,
Yep.
that way,
And
that way, there, over here.
oh, I forgot to say, if you ever wanted to like suggest something to talk about or you have questions, feel free to DM me on either Twitter or I think YouTube has DMs. I actually
There's
don't
comments, at least.
There's comments, which
Well,
I will
yeah,
definitely
I
read,
read
and
them
obviously
still.
we both will.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if there's anything that if you feel like contacting, being like, hey man, if there's anyone that's out there that's actually analytical enough or banter enough to get in with us, then shoot us a comment, a message, and things, and we'll see if we can hook something up. Because we're all for
Yeah, we can do it. We can do an interview and see how you can do.
Yeah, we're all good for like talking to people that actually have an unnecessary addiction to competitive League of Legends. So yeah. I'm trying to think of like what's a clever thing for rogue fans. Rogueites. That's not good. Rogue heads. The Roganites. The rogue. Okay, Roganites. We'll see you next week.
We'll work in name it placeholder name right there. I think it's better than the first thing you suggested.
You trying to tell what's wrong with the Roganites? It reminds me of.
Sounds like a Dragonite to me,
it does.
but with the word rogue thrown in there.
Is it the Gorgonites from Small Soldiers? Is that what they're called?
I don't know. I've never seen Small Soldiers. I've heard the term Gorgonite
You've never
before.
seen Small Soldiers, the little talking toys. Oh, fuck. You're missing out. It's not Toy Story. It's better.
I'm missing out, dude. I was born in the States.
It's an American movie. What?
That doesn't mean I've seen it though. America doesn't know a lot of shit about America.
America.
Literally, I was watching.
The title. America doesn't know a lot of shit about America.
No, I was watching a movie where they were like, or not a movie, an interview. Game show. It was like those Family Feud game shows. He asked the lady. He's like, "All right, name this foreign country that does like this kind of relation with America." And then she's like, or with does like foreign trade with America. And she's like, the USA. He's like, the USA is not a foreign country, honey. And she's like, oh, okay. Texas. And he's like, okay, how about Texas?
Family Feud's fantastic. There's some really funny moments on that show.
Especially some of the old clips back when they used to say just like whatever the shit. Like some of the most racist things I've ever heard. I'm just like, holy shit, this is.
Oh, you can't.
It's so unfiltered. You can't say that, my dude.
Hello. Yeah. Anyway.
This will be 80s, but anyways.
Anyway, enjoy that. See you guys next week.
See you.